All right. Welcome, 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 everybody. We can see you starting to come in. You cannot see anyone else that is in. So this is more of the we have a webinar setting here, and so we'll get started in just a few minutes. More people are starting to come in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are wanting to learn more about your P&L, we're going to do a specific focus today on lead gen. And so one of the things as you're coming in, you're probably hearing this. Make sure you have a pen and paper. We're gonna do a little math today, and I want to make sure that you guys understand, everybody understands the value of lead gen, and also investing in lead gen, and how that can really impact your business. And I've got examples of clients I coach and how we increase the value of the business, and we're gonna do that. So. All right, quick housekeeping item before we get started. This should take about 30 to 40 minutes or so, maybe 45 minutes. My expectation is that this is participatory. And so if you have questions along the way, I'm going to pull up an actual P&L. I'm going to pull up the MREA budget model, so I'll show a little bit of that today. And then also I have a database worth spreadsheet that I'll show up as well. So if you need anything or want any types of things on the screen today, just let us know. Put in the chat, hey, I'd like to see that, or if you need that. Again, this is participatory, and we really want you to ask questions along the way. And our motto here and our mission here at YBP, your bookkeeping partner, and Launch Bookkeeping, is to empower agents to financial freedom. And we believe that this is the first step to that. So in case you guys don't know, my name is Kyle Harrison. I am a executive business coach for the last almost 6 years, I guess, just a smidge over 9,000 coaching calls, one-on-one coaching calls. And my niche is leadership, team building, financials, and wealth building. And so I really hone in. Even more of my niche is to help agents and business professionals develop a 5-year exit strategy or 5-year option strategy if they want to sell their business, they want to get out of the business, out of production, or they just want to do like a golden handoff. So that's really, really my niche. If you're ever interested in wanting coaching, I do have a few slots open in my schedule for that specific type of coaching. And so I'm honored and pleasure to be here. I'm also the president and co-founder of Your Bookkeeping Partner, which is the residential side of real estate bookkeeping, payroll, and taxes. And I'm also the president and co-founder of Launch Bookkeeping, which is the commercial side of things as well. Investor throughout the country. I'm mostly multifamily investor. So I've got my hands in a lot of cool things, and building wealth and financials, super passionate about it. So we do these once a month. Actually, I think it's twice a month, these types of P&Ls reviews. And then we do a Financial Friday once a month. And we just really believe in educating. And our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal, is to get financials in front of every business owner and then have you understand them. So it's really, really important for us. So thank you for being here. Thanks for leaning into the financials. Depending on where your journey is, whether you're just in the beginning phases or you're farther along and you're wanting to learn more, congratulations. I will tell you, if you do a quick Google search of the top 5 reasons why businesses fail, the first 3 are attached to financials. So the fact that you're here and learning and wanting to lean into this, congratulations on this. Financials is such a big part of the business, and we're not just realtors, we are owners of our business. So I wore a shirt today, think like a CEO today. So take off your realtor hat, put on your CEO hat and your business hat, and we're going to dive into the financials. So last month I pulled up a P&L, and I'll pull up another one here in just a minute. I did a deep dive into the cost of sale and really how it impacts the cost of sale to the P&L. So I did about a 45-minute deep dive into that, why it's important, what are the subjects of that. This month we are diving into lead gen and how that affects your P&L and where you start to become more profitable through some of the business decisions, through your profit and loss. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Next month may be compensation or how to get staffing to do that. We just need to figure that out. I do get feedback from people if you want to learn more. So if you have a topic specific that you'd like to learn more, please bring it to us. We'd be happy to do a deep dive as well and teach more. There is a noise over here to my left. Here's a computer funky sound. It's like AOL. It's my stepdad's computer, and so yeah, I said AOL. That's exactly right. You heard that correctly. So anyway, it might bing a little bit. So just please ignore that. All right. Well, let's dive in. Appreciate being here. And for the next 35 minutes or so, we are going to learn together. So I'm going to make sure that we share my screen, and we are off to the races. Okay. There we go. So I can't really see the chat. So if Sig, if there's somebody that asks a question in the chat, please just let me know. I'm just going to go through that. I assume everyone can see this. I thumbs up. I can't really see it, but we'll make sure that you see this. So this is our P&L here that we have. Those that are clients of ours, this is probably familiar with you. If you are not clients and you're here on the first time or just hearing and understanding it, this is just a P&L that we're able to provide. And so for the last 3 years, we're on our 4th year of being in business. One of the things that really makes us unique is that we develop our P&Ls through the lens of a coach and not through the lens of an accountant. And so when you look at our P&Ls, there's a lot of numbers and it can be overwhelming, and there's percentages over here on the right. Our idea is designed really to help you make business decisions very quickly. And so when you look at compensation here, I think I'm highlight this. So if you look at compensation, and then you come down here and you start to look at lead gen, and then you start to come down here and you start to look at advertising and marketing, which is actually the total of lead gen here, and then occupancy, and work your way down, you'll notice that it really lines up with the MREA budget model here on your screen. And so the idea is how we set this up. You can see compensation, you can see lead gen, occupancy, education, and coaching. So you can really lay down the P&L, or excuse me, the budget model, and then bring our P&L right next to it and say, okay, how are we doing for that? So the goal was to really look at how we make business decisions quicker. And as a coach, I want to be able to see a client's financials very quickly and start to see where some of the gaps are and what we can work on. So today we're going to talk a lot about lead gen, and this is where I see a lot of clients in the 9,000 coaching calls that I get to see, and the thousands of P&Ls I get to see. This is a pretty large gap in profitability for people. And when you're looking at a P&L like we have on the screen, to keep things very, very simple, there's really 3 major things that affect profitability. Okay. Number 1 is your cost of sale. So your cost of sale here, as you see on the screen, is this. If this is new to you, we can talk. We can send you the recording from last month. If you're familiar with this, then follow along here. Your cost of sale would be number 1. That would really affect your profitability. Number 2 would be your compensation that you can see here, staffing or professional services, or you can see bookkeeping and transaction coordinator, some things that really you pay for staffing. It could be runners, it could be ISAs. There's a lot of people that could fall really underneath this compensation umbrella. So that would be number 2 that would affect the profitability. And then the last one is your lead gen. What are you investing in your business to get a return? And this is where I see a lot of agents, they mean well, and I think sometimes there's ego that's wrapped up into lead gen, or they just absolutely don't know what their return on investment is when they invest in lead gen. Now, I understand the P&L here shows all expenses, and I put that in parentheses because when you look at compensation, which is investing in people, and you look at lead gen, which is basically an investment back into your business to generate more business, it's really an investment. So I really want you to look through the lens of an investment. Even though your P&L shows an expense, these are investments. So if you're an investor or you invest in the stocks or IRAs, when you put money in, you expect a return on that money. No different than in your business. And so now when you have a great P&L like we see here, we can just track it a little bit. Now, there's more tracking that you can do along the way under lead gen for that. So it's just super, super important. If you're not nearly as profitable in your business, or you're not seeing the money in your account that you want, it's really two things. Actually, it's three, I should say. Either increase revenue, which is more sales, decrease expenses, or really dive into something like lead gen to figure out where you can get the most return on investment. Now, ROI is another term for that. So it's return on investment. So at the very minimum, everybody, you'll want to write this down if you don't know this. You want to have a 4-to-1 return. And what that means is for every dollar I invest, okay, let's just look this on the screen here. And let's say, for an example, advertising and marketing that you see here. For every dollar I invest, in this case, it's 792, I should get $4 in return on this. So when you're tracking this at a higher level, this is where you can play red light, green light to investing in things. So for example, if you take 792, I'm just going to round it up to 800, and you multiply it by 4, then you should at least get $3,200 back based off of that investment. And so some people just don't quite understand, am I getting the revenue? Am I investing in the lead gen? And am I getting at least a 4-to-1 return? If there's anything less than that, you probably should look at reallocating some of your funds in the lead gen department and maybe move it to somewhere else. Okay. Now, I asked you early on when you showed up to bring out a piece of paper and pencil or pen or whatever you need. So we're going to do some math here, and I really want you to do your own math on this. And then I'm going to bring up an Excel spreadsheet if you'd like. So when we look at lead gen, everybody, for this person or this business here, we're spending, or we're investing, right, of 1.37% of total GCI up here, as you can see. So total income for January, right, is 104, January through April. And then of course, we're comparing that to January through April, the same time last year. So 114,351. And when you come down here and look at lead gen, this business is only investing 1.37%. So do they have opportunity to reinvest back into their business? 1,000%. Now, since it's basically, let's just call it the first quarter of 2024, and we're at 100,000, and there's 4 quarters. So let's just say this business is on pace to do $500,000 this year. Okay, let's just call it that. We don't know what the future of this is, but for today, let's just talk about $500,000. So 500,000. So when we come over here and we look at the budget model, we're going to use 500,000. So it's going to be somewhere in between 340 and 640 for the percentages that we're going to line up. And when you look at lead gen, this is the focus that we're going to spend under lead gen here. You see between 340 and 640, you see it's somewhere between 10.2 and 10.4%. So this person or this business is only spending barely 10% of what they actually could be investing in their business. So if we're looking at it from this perspective, and again, through the lens of a coach here, we're saying, okay, client, this is not my client, I don't know who this is. We're just looking at it and analyzing an investment. Is if we're investing in 1.37, and the model, best practices, says we can invest another, let's just call it 10.2 for math here. We're about 9% where we can reinvest money back into our business. And 9% of everybody, 9% of $114,000 is what? It's somewhere around $9,000. Okay. And I'm just going to do the quick math. I don't have there it is. There's my. So if we're talking about $9,000 and we're talking over a 4-month period, this business can invest an extra $2,250 back into their business. And what they should be expecting to get in that investment is another $9,000. So by investing $9,000 back into the business, we should be able to generate $36,000 more of income based off of that 4-to-1 return. So there is a massive opportunity in this business to say, okay, where can we start to invest our money into our business, and how do we make more money based off of what we invest? Now, for today, I'm going to show you, just give you some examples of things that I'm seeing a massive return on in the investment world, and then we're going to see what your database is worth. So if you're new to real estate, database is everything. If you're in real estate and you're on the screen here today, you know that this is where your business is. This is the value. In a real estate business, in a real estate company, the only asset that you have is your database. Period. Now, let's say your business could buy cars, you could buy buy investments, but you don't want to do that. You want to put that in an LLC, completely treat it as a separate business. However, when it comes to your real estate sales, your database is the only asset that you have. Okay. So here I want you to determine the value. We're going to determine the value, determine the conversion rate, and the financial database opportunity. Okay. So I want you to, what I would like for you to do is to write down every business, how many people are in your database right now. Okay. How many people are in your database right now? And I've got a sample over here. I'm just going to go off of that. So write down your number, and I'm going to use a number of 15,000. I know it's maybe a little high, it may be a little smaller for depending on what your business is. I'm just going to use that in this example. But write down yours, okay? So in this example, I have 15,000 people in my database. Now, if I was to go rebuild that database, it would cost me about $26 a lead. And that's the math from Gary. That's just looking at all the databases, all the businesses. It would cost you on average about $26 a lead. And then there's a multiplier. So when you put a multiplier on that, it basically around 3. So there's a multiplier of 3. So for quick math, if you take 15,000, multiply it by 26, multiply it by 3, you get a value, or the value of 1.17 million. So based off of this and what it is, the value of that database is about 1.17 million. Now here is the math. Write your database number down, whatever that is, okay? Multiply it by 26, you get a number, and then multiply it by 3. Right now, how your database sits, it's worth, now I'm not saying somebody's going to pay for that. That's a different discussion. It is worth that amount. Okay. All right. So that is determining the value. Now let's talk about the conversion rate. Okay. So now what we need to do is take that database, or that amount of the number of people in that database, and then figure out how many transactions you had last year from the database. Okay. So take the number of contacts or number of people in the database, right? And then write down the number of transactions from that database. And for example, over here, I'm going to use 15,000 again. So let's say there's 15,000 people in the contacts or in the database. Business did 227 sides from that. You would take 227 sides or closings and divide that by 15,000. So whatever the number of closings you had last year from your database divided by the number of people are in your database, you get a percentage. In this particular case, it's 1.5% conversion rate. So now we figured out the value. Now we just did the math on the conversion rate. And then what we're going to talk about here in just a second is the database opportunity, right? So here we go. And I can slow that down. I don't know if there's, I guess I can see if there's comments in here. Generate a 4-to-1 return of gross or net. Yeah, good question. I always like to look at the gross. I mean, for that, if I'm investing $1, I'm looking for $4 in return. The net can be a little bit, however, net would be more. So great question, Ozzy, on that. I look at the gross on that. How do you come up with that 3x multiplier? Good question. That was a Gary thing. When you go to accountants and you look to sell businesses, from every industry, they have different multipliers that they use. And like I've sold a property management company, and that multiplier, I believe at the time was 4 for property management. I can't remember the multiplier. So every business has a multiplier. And so the multiplier for potentially a real estate sales is a 3 multiplier. Ask your accountant. They may know that what the multiplier is for a real estate database. Insurance industries have different multipliers, so it just depends. So for today, we used a 3 multiplier. So great question. Okay. All right. So we are going to pull up the database here. I just want to make sure. Okay, there's no more things in the chat. This is a quick form. If you'd like access to this, just let me know. I've got Michael, my assistant, on here. He can give you a copy of this. This is just a cheater. So I had you do the math to really understand it. However, this is a cheater to really to go a little bit deeper. So let's say we're going to use that 15,000 again, or actually let's just say it's 5,000, just to make it simple here. So let's say on average we have 5,000 people in the Met database, and Met database is signified as a you have a conversation, you have some sort of relationship. And let's say you have 2,000 people in the haven't met. You just don't know who they are. You think they can fog a mirror. You don't know who they are, just a name in their database. So we're going to put that. On average, if we say, okay, our commission structure, let's say the average commission is in your market is $9,000. Okay. And so when we look at this, we say, okay, if we were running our database at a really high efficiency, high contact, really working the database very, very hard, we're saying that potential GCI would be 4.86. And we're looking for at least a 10% return on that people that you know, and then a 2% on people that you don't know. And so when you calculate all that up, this basically is the potential is 4.8 million if you really focused on the database. Potential profit, let's just call it a 40% profit, the 30-30-40 model, you would net 1.944 million. Okay, so that's basically what the worth of the database is worth. You can use this. I don't typically mess with this piece, but let's say you're 5%, it changes the numbers. However, 10% is what we really do. My business, in real estate, I had a 33% return. So I had 200 people bring me 70 transactions every year, just like clockwork. So I just really, really tracked that. So I had a 33%. The very minimum, we want to do a 10%. Right. So it just really, again, and if you're not really doing much and you throw out an email or you're not super intentional, it's probably going to be around that 3 to 5% maybe. So even if we move that down, you can see the significant difference with that. So again, this is where the profit can really start to happen. It looks like Michael shared that. I see some people starting to go into this thing. So that's just the 10%. You can see where the profit or the potential profit is. Now let's just say, let's take those same numbers, right, that we used above here. And this is a little bit more coaching. We're just talking about profit and the lead gen. Database is where it's at, everybody. And I'm going to give you some tips before we wrap up here on where the biggest returns that I'm seeing with all my coaching clients. All right, let's say at the very minimum, you're getting a 3%, and you're saying you haven't met, so you're doing 1% here. Okay. And let's say that average commission again is $9,000. And let's say let's just use 40% just for grins and just because we're using that above here. Your potential profit right now is sitting at 1.53. Potential potential GCI is 1.15. And then potential net profit is 612. Based off of that, we have a gap of 1.3 million. So when you look at what it could be, right, up here to what you currently are, that's a lot of money, folks. That's just a lot of money of opportunity. And this is where I see people, they want to buy the Zillow, or they want to buy the shiny object, or they want to buy the easy leads. The database is a long-term game, my friends. And we've seen massive returns when we really focus on the database. So anyway, so it looks like you guys have some of that. Michael shared that with you. Have at it. Just make a copy, use it. Yeah, so there we go. So now when we look at your P&L and we get super clear on what we're looking at and looking for, where are you getting the biggest return? Well, in this particular case, we're not getting much of a return. So if I was coaching this client, I would say, okay, let's dive into the database. What are we getting the return on it? What's our conversion? Where can we really, really improve on that? And I'm going to give you an example, everybody, and this is a true story. I'm not going to use names. However, this is a true story. There was an agent on the East Coast that was one of the largest agents for another brokerage. And they came to, this was several years ago, they came to KW They were doing about 500 transactions. Okay. And within 3 years, they focused on their database. That's all they did. They called it, they emailed, they brought value, they did client events, all that stuff. And within 3 years, they closed 1,800 transactions. So they went from 500 transactions to 1,800 transactions just by focusing on the database. And when you look at this P&L, you're saying, okay, client appreciation, zero. Branded gifts, okay, a little bit. Are we taking clients out for meals? And by the way, when you go do client events and you're paying for meals, you can put them under meals. That is a 50% write-off, right? I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant. However, it's a 50% write-off when you're using meals for the business. And if we look at advertising and marketing, okay, are we getting a 4-to-1 return? Getting some mailers out, not spending too much money on postage, anything like that. And then that's about it, everybody. So when we look at the biggest opportunity in this P&L, again, if I was coaching this client, I would say, okay, you're making money. Where do we need to reinvest back into our business, and what does that start to look like for that? And then we would lay out a GPS. I'm huge on simplicity. People tend to overcomplicate things to justify their own inactions. Let me repeat that. People tend to overcomplicate things to justify their own inactions. If a sixth grader cannot understand your business plan, it is too complicated. When you talk to Gary, you listen to Gary, everything is on one sheet and it's simple, right? And again, your business plan, and even with my clients, we do a 1-1-5. So one goal, one priority, and 5 strategies. And that should hit every benchmark or every goal that we want to hit. And then we earn the right to move on to priority 2, or even earn the right to move on to priority 3. So very, very simple. Now, I'm going to give you some things that I'm seeing right now in the real estate space, not just with my clients. I get the opportunity to coach with the other coaches, other colleagues that coach great teams and great individuals. So I get to see what's working and what's not. I will tell you the things that are really, really working right now are giveaways. I've got several clients right now that are getting an 8-to-1 return, and I've got a couple clients that are actually up to a 50-to-1 return, a 50-to-1 return. So every dollar they're investing, they're getting at least 50 in return. Now, when you're talking about like client events or some of those things, that's where you can actually pull in other vendors, and vendors can sponsor or maybe help pay for some of those client events. Again, that's putting more money, more opportunity, more profit back into your pocket when it comes to lead gen. So giveaways are really crushing it. Client events are really crushing it. There's a team, again, I don't want to use names on these things. There's a team that does, I think they're on the pace for 2,000 transactions or 2,500, somewhere, a big number. And their one thing is every single person in that organization has to write 10 thank you cards or 10 note cards to their database a week. Non-negotiable. That is their one thing. That is their standard, and they have grown pretty much every year by 20%, just with that type of intentionality. So again, success is simple, not easy. It's the consistency behind certain things. There's other agents that are going all in on the golden letter. That's all they've done. They've netted $1 million this year, or excuse me, last year, doing golden letters. Pick what you choose and see the best return, and then go all in on that. Okay. Now, here's a couple things that I'm seeing, and I just wrote this down. So you can write this down too, or maybe you already know this, that I'm seeing that a simple 1-1-5 that is really getting maximum return, especially when we talk about lead gen. So all these things are around lead gen. It's around building a business. It's really getting the biggest return on investment. Number one, I'm seeing is clients utilizing the DTD2 system. If you're not familiar with it, I'll have Michael post the actual 2024. It's Never Ending Referrals by Steve Schluter and Tammy Youngst. They teach that. It's really good. It's a great system to have. They follow that model. So I'm not sure if Michael will post that in there. However, you can see that, take it, use it. They follow that model at a very high level. It tells them what they're going to be doing every single week, and they just follow that system. If you are not following a model, I don't care what you do, whether you're investing in real estate, cold calling, whatever, you will work harder and make less, guaranteed, guaranteed. So follow a model. So this is a model that they follow, the DTD2 system. Number two, we mentioned earlier, that's really crushing it. Databases are thriving. They're really getting profitable. Is they're playing all in on client events and giveaways. So I've seen massive returns on giveaways. One giveaway had 430 people call in, 19 referrals. One giveaway was 11 referrals. I've got several clients that are getting no less than 7 referrals. Well, 7 referrals, if you're investing $1,000 or $2,000 in a market that's giving the average commission is $10,000, and you invest $2,000 and you're potentially making 70, do the math. It's a great return on your investment. So those types of client events, giveaways. I know there's an agent out on the West Coast that's their bread and butter. They do client events. They're pretty much their entire town is in their database. They drip to them, and they'll do 600 some odd transactions. She's a wizard on those things. So number 3 is testimonials and reviews. I did a Financial Friday with Tony Baroni, who's an agent out of Tampa. This was 2 months ago, I think, and he has 2,700 5-star reviews. So his team is super focused on 5-star experience, and they're super focused on, they use the promise script from Mike Hicks. And so they've taken it, internalized it. Every single team member uses that script, and then they're super focused on getting those testimonials and reviews. He has over 2,700 5-star reviews. And you can imagine how powerful that is to go to a listing appointment and say, hey, I'm not telling you I'm great. Just go to our Google page and see what people are saying about us. That's what makes us great on that. So that would be number 3, testimonials and reviews. We talked just briefly on the one team, they're playing all in, handwritten notes. Now, if you think about this for just 1 second, how many handwritten notes do you get in a month? I'll just call it a month. It's very minimal, right? So if you make that part of your strategy, and it's 2 a day, right? So it's 10 a week, and you just do that, you're sending out 520 cards to people that you like, love, and trust, and they're getting a handwritten note from you. How impactful is that? Right? Again, that's the long-term game. And what happens is they actually call you and thank you. So you're not even making outbound calls. You're just doing 2 or 3 or whatever that is that you'd like to do. And now you're getting the phone calls, and then you strike up the conversation. And what's your real estate plans the next 12 months? Do you know anyone else? Like, it becomes this ball of conversation around real estate. So handwritten notes is really working. We're seeing that again. It's just the consistency behind it. And last but not least, everyone, it's the database growth. So it's a database growth, and you can come back here and clients getting super intentional around the growth, super intentional around making sure there's accurate database, accurate information, and it's the big 4. It's the name of the client, address of where they live, it's their email and their phone number. So it's the big 4, and they're really being intentional around. They track it every single day, every single week. It's a KPI, which is a key performance indicator. Every single week, we're seeing the increase of that. And so you can imagine, let's say you have 5,000 people, and over a year, you add 2,500. Let's just use that round number. And you're getting 10%. You're going to go from 1.9 million in net profit to 2.8. So just by adding and being consistent and intentional around adding 2,500 people in a year consistently, that might be a little steep. However, you get the idea. You're adding potentially $900,000 in profit to the bottom line. Let's just say, you're at 5,000 right now, and you add 1,000. Let's just say, call it 6,000 people, right? Look at 1.9. Now you just went to 1.3. So instantly, by being intentional of adding people, putting them on a drip, being consistent with the 33 touch, really communicating to them at a high level, doing client events, writing handwritten notes, doing the things that we talked about, you're adding a potential $400,000 net profit to the bottom line. Now, even down, let's say you're performing this down here, and you add another 1,000 people, right? And you're super consistent on that. You're just, again, grabbing that information. You can see the potential profit is 620. We just added $110,000, right? And net profit to that. So again, everybody, when you're looking at the P&L and you're looking at your financials, it's just go a couple layers deep. Yeah, these are the numbers that spill it. These are the numbers that are telling you. However, when you're looking at your financials, gosh, where can I be investing more money back into my business to be able to give me a more return? And these are hard numbers that I'm telling you on the client events and giveaways and testimonials and handwritten notes. And going back to Tony Baroni, which is really, really fascinating. His number one lead source is agent to agent referral. He did 142 deals last year from agent to agent referral. So he's out teaching and they see and he's networking, right? And so his database is obviously up there too, but now and he's getting referrals from other agents across the country because he's really branded himself as a 5-star expert on that. So, okay, I think we've got some questions thrown in the chat. I'm going to work through them right now, and let's see if we can do that. Oh, good. Okay. Let's see the form, please. Yep. Okay. And then, all right, Jennifer, I think we've got some emails in there. I'd like this form. Okay, cool. And then I would too, please send the database form. Okay. Yeah, sure, Chris, we'll do that. And then, okay. People tend to complicate things to justify their own inactions. Yeah, that's really good. Client events, thank you cards. Okay. And then, do you have examples of giveaways? Great question. I do and I don't. There was a gentleman. He pretty much wrote the playbook on it on giveaways, and he has done like big green eggs. Surprisingly enough, he's in the Georgia area, and he gave away a dirt bike. He went to his local dirt bike shop, and I think the cost they gave it to him at cost, which was $700, and that was one of his biggest giveaways. He got 11 referrals out of that giveaway. I've seen cruises giveaway, so some bigger. I've seen Pelotons. I think Pelotons are kind of pre-pandemic or during pandemic. That might not be a great one. Or something that people get excited about. I've seen baseball tickets. Something where people would really want for that. And then, is there a form? Is there a form to follow? Yeah, Jennifer, Michael, we can send out that if you'd like. This gentleman's given me the okay to give the playbook, but we can send the playbook on his giveaways. He wrote that and that, so we can be happy to send that off to you. So just let us know. And actually, what we can do is everybody on today, we can just send that playbook out so you guys can see that for it. Okay. Check with me, Michael, before you send it out. Let's just make sure it's the right one. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, so we're running up about 40 minutes, everybody. And I know this is a little bit more, around the P&L, and I know this is diving into it. However, these are just some of the business decisions behind lead gen and how do you start to generate more profit in your business. And these are just some of the things that I see. Number one, if you're not investing in your database, you're not spending time on your database, that's the biggest opportunity for a return on investment. Hands down, no questions asked. And then when you start to get intentional around growth of your database, then you start to build value in your company. And so when you start to look at how you start to grow, and it's a long-term game, I just had a coaching call yesterday, and what we did was the actual math on what his net was, what his net number in 5 years was X dollars, and we calculated how many people he had to have in his database to be able to do that. And so now that becomes a KPI. So every week we're tracking that, right? We have a 5-year spreadsheet. It's broken down by individual months. And every month we say, okay, we've got to be at this number on our database METs to make sure that we're on pace for that net profit in 5 years. And it goes back to that niche I was telling you about, that option strategy or that exit strategy for clients in that 5 years. So again, this is where it's at. If you're getting money or you're investing in the online portals, good for you. Just make sure that it's getting at least a 4-to-1 return. If you're investing in, like HomeLight or some of these others that are bringing listings, just really pay attention to your cost of sale, because I'm seeing a lot of that go up. It's getting more expensive. And if you can really invest in your database and move that cost of sale off, paying a Zillow or paying a HomeLight, and really dive into the database, you're just going to make more money, right? And so anyway, these are just some of the things. This is more of kind of coaching and P&L a little bit. I just trust the fact that you got some value out of this, and if there's some takeaways, some ahas. And here's the thing, everybody, I really want you to hear is start small, right? So of the 5 things I mentioned today, maybe it's just database growth. I'm going to add 2 new people a day, and then start that habit. and then say, you know what, gosh, I'm going to layer that with handwritten notes and start that habit. Don't feel like you have to really go into it all. Pick one thing and just start the habit, and it's just a long-term game. And we as a society are a now society, and those that have been in real estate know what we do today is going to show up in 90 to 120 days from now. It's just a fact. So really plan on the long-term game. Do the consistent things now that really matter. Love on your people, develop relationships, build those relationships, and then your business will just start to take off from there. Okay. All right. I'm going to open up. I think we got some chat or some people in here on the chat here. I'm going to answer some questions. If you have some questions, please come off of off screen or whatever. If you raise your hand, you want to ask some questions, we can go. If you have some questions, please put them in the chat. What's a good system for working with your database? I think the question is like working with it. It's like a CRM. It's just database management. There's Command. I've used Commissions Inc. I've seen Brivity. There's some really good CRMs out there. If your CRM is not telling you who to call, or systematizing a contact or an automatic email that goes out every week or every month, then that would be the thing to do. I've seen Follow Up Boss is another really good CRM for databases. So really find one that works for you. This is great. I'm making a point to not miss these. Awesome, Chris. Thank you. Yeah, bring your friends. Again, we're super passionate about serving others and helping people with their business and their financials. So by all means, invite people that you care about that feel like they should hear this. So really appreciate the feedback on that, Chris. Okay. And awesome. Okay, so if you'd like, I can give you open up the floor for 30 seconds or so if you have some questions and you'd like to ask me live here. Otherwise, Michael, you can put my email down, my phone number. By all means, everybody, I'm an open book. So if you need access to me and you have some questions, I'm here to serve you. Our company is here to serve you. So in whatever capacity that you need to help your business, we'd be honored to be able to help. So, okay, so we'll give it 30 seconds. If you'd like to come off mute, ask some questions. If not, we'll wrap up here, and you get 18 minutes of your life back. So please raise your hand. Okay, awesome. Okay. All right. Well, you now have my email, you have my phone number, and then yeah. Thanks, Sig, for reminding me. By the way, everybody, we're growing as a company, and so if you know anyone who you think would like to be part of a great company and want an opportunity, we are hiring bookkeepers. So please, if you could spread the word on this, this would be great. We're looking for great people to bring into our company, and we obviously they'd be going through the hiring process and just make sure they're the right fit. But please pass them our information if you think they'd be a good fit. And then also we're running a promo as well for free Profit Camp tickets. And the Profit Camp, we highly recommend if you haven't been. It's by Jeannie Osnes. It's through KW. It's $99 a ticket, and so we're running a promo for free tickets. Leave some testimonials, leave some reviews, and then you will be your name will be thrown into a raffle, and we'll pick the winner for that, so we can give you a free ticket to Profit Camp. So anyway, so I think Sig has posted that for that. By all means, too, if you want some feedback or you want to have some topics that you'd like for us to cover on these Financial Fridays or even these P&L Wednesdays, by all means, please let us know. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Invite your friends, people you care about. If you find value in this today, we sure appreciate the opportunity. If you're clients of ours, thank you. If there's anything that we can also do and better our services, please let us know. We're an open book. All right, everybody, have a great day. Appreciate it. Take care. Thank you.